to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today is What Would Lou Do? Before we begin, I want to take a moment to thank our show sponsor, Kirsch. You know that I have been a Kirsch customer since the very beginning of WindowWorks. That's right, since the early 1980s. It sounds a little crazy saying it out loud, but it has been that long. And the thing is, Kirsch has been in business for more than 100 years. So I actually have some catching up to do, right? Anyway, you know what I love about Kirsch? I love that on one hand, we are using so many of their tried and true products that are the exact same now as they were in 1980. That's right. The Superfine Track, the Architrack series, these are go-to rods, and they are quality, reliable rods that haven't changed, I don't think, a lick in 40 years. And that's because they're well made to begin with. All right. But the other thing I love about Kirsch is this 100-year-old plus company is still innovating. Recently, they relaunched the Buckingham collection, updated the finishes, the finials, everything to go with today's design. All right. And they also have introduced the motorized Breeza rod. And this combines beauty and technology. So go to Kirsch.com. Find your local distributor and get signed up with them so that you can get catalogs and finished samples so that you're ready to specify Kirsch for your next window treatment project. That's KIRSCH.com. All right, so the latest What Would Lou Do is from a listener who prefers to remain anonymous, which of course is your right when you email me. If you have a question for me, you can email it to me at LuAnnNigara.com/WWLD. And you'll fill out the form and you'll tell me, hey, don't say my name on air, lady, and I won't. Okay? Now, here's the letter. Hi, LuAnn. I've been listening to your podcast ever since it started. I started my business in 2014. Your podcast has been an incredible resource and inspiration to me. Thank you. I have a question about investing in my business. I recently bought your book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business. I'm currently on chapter 2. I recognize how essential it is to establish the dream team, as you call it. It's something that I didn't do in 2014, and it's making me very uneasy. I'm also on the fence about a branding upgrade, even though I want it really badly. But I also believe my portfolio photography first has to be upgraded so that I can attract my ideal client. When I started my business, I DIY'd it, and I took the least expensive options on everything to get myself up and running. I now understand you must invest in your business to grow. I must also invest to create a strong foundation. So here's my question. In order to complete the tasks in Chapter 2, I will obviously have to pay for the services of a lawyer, accountant, and marketing experts. I could use all of an inheritance, $9,000, that I received just before COVID hit. In fact, it's the only money that I have to invest. In the last year, I paid off my credit card, and I'm not willing to put myself in debt again. And I'm willing to invest my inheritance, but I'm also worried because my husband is furloughed from a position in the events industry, and he's not going back to work anytime soon. Hopefully, he'll find a job in the coming months, but who knows in these uncertain circumstances. What would you do? Would you spend the money and get my business tightened up and on its way to attracting bigger and better clients, or hold on to the money just in case things get ugly? Thank you so much for your insight. Well, first of all, my friend, thank you. Thank you tons for listening to the show. I know you well from social media, and I also know that we've met in real life. So I'm so happy to know that you're still listening. And yes, you do need to be willing to invest in your business. I believe this 100%. But I also believe you need to do it wisely and within what feels comfortable and safe for you. You have a lot of variables going on. This furlough, a finite amount of seed money, and that great feeling of newly paid off debt. All things that we don't want to have the boat rocked on, right? So before I get into how and what you should do with your business, I would like you to consider that what I want to know is this $9K inheritance the safety net also for your home expenses, knowing that your husband is furloughed? Because if the answer is yes, it is very unlikely that I'm going to be in favor of you spending it on branding or a new website or photography or much of anything that is extra for the business, right? Mortgage, food on the table, gas and electric, they all need to come first. But I hear you. And if I'm moving on and assuming that that's not quite the case, that this 9K is not necessarily needed to keep the house afloat and your life afloat, what I'm hearing is, correct me, it sounds like you feel like, or that you might be concerned that in a way you've been holding back your own business, that by not really committing to some of these investments, that maybe you haven't been committing to getting your business on track. And maybe you're thinking, if things aren't really popping, maybe it goes back to this where I haven't been investing in it. And so looking at this inheritance, you're saying, should I go for it, right? So if that sounds like the question, let's see if we can't pick it apart for you, all right? The first thing that I'd like you to do is to understand that there is one big step that should happen before any business launches, and that is that you should develop a sound business plan, okay? And I know that often we tend to skip this step because it's free, by the way, and it feels like it's fluffy, but it's not. It's very important to do. It's not a step that should be skipped. So I want you to take a step back and create that business plan for yourself. If you did do this in 2014, do it again now. If you did it in 2014, review it, revise it, reflect on it. Does it still hold up? Okay. And if it doesn't, get to working on it. And here's some of the things that I want you to consider when you start out with this new business plan. First, get very clear on your mission. Why are you a designer? Why does it matter to you? Why are you compelled to design? Spend some time actually answering these questions in writing, whether it's long form or on your computer. Not just, I like it, and move on. Spend time. Then I want you to spend time on the vision that you have for your firm. What do you want it to look like in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? Okay? And no limits on it. Just what would you like it to be? Not, well, I would like it to be this, but I don't have that, so it can't be this, so I'll settle for this. What is your vision for your firm? Do you aspire to always be a solo entrepreneur? That's awesome. Do you aspire to grow a team? That's awesome. What kind of projects do you want to do? There are no right or wrong answers. It's only the spending the time with yourself to get to your answers, okay? Then take time to consider which core values will you and your firm embrace and embody. What do you want to be known for, both project-wise and philosophy-wise? What do you want people to say about you? All right? Ask yourself questions like, who are your ideal clients? How do you serve them? How do you benefit them? What is your differentiator? And when you think about how you will handle your clients, your dealings with your clients, your vendors, and ultimately any people who may work for you, what matters to you when you picture and imagine those dealings? Okay? Now, you're reading my first book, which I'm glad for. But I also want to recommend that you pick up the second book as well. There are a few chapters in this could be very helpful for you in this process. And in particular, Nicole Heimer's chapter on defining your brand will help tremendously, as will Eileen Hahn's chapter on how to lead and cultivate exceptional people. These are great chapters to get you thinking in this big picture vision, okay? And I just want to say, if you think skipping this step isn't a big deal, go back and listen to episode 545. Laurel Smith told me right there on air how she read the book and skipped this chapter because she thought, nah, I can do that later. It's not that big of a deal. I want to get to the good stuff, right? So, and as you hear her story, it will be very clear why it is important to take the time to do this with yourself in your business and ask these questions and do these exercises. That's kind of why it's chapter 1. Okay. Now, the next thing after you've gone through this exercise, and it may take you 2, 3, 4, 5 sittings to do this. Okay. The next thing I want you to do is to look at your income. All right. And look at either what you must earn or want to earn. Okay. So start with writing down what this number is for the remaining months of 2020. And then write it down what you want it to be for 2021 and 2022. Okay. So depending on your situation, you might have either a must make a minimum amount for your household, given that your husband is on furlough, or you might have an amount of what you'd like to contribute to your household. Okay. So I'm guessing since your husband is on furlough, there's probably a must-make amount. Write it down. That's your non-negotiable, what you will earn each month amount, okay? And remember, Nate Berkus's episode 433, he said to us that when he was working at a job that he no longer liked, he sat there and he thought to myself, I'm making $759 a week at this job. All I really have to do is make that amount of money every week to justify quitting and starting out on my own. So the thing is, what is your have to make money each week? All right. Write it down. And the thing is, I want you to do is write it in the present tense. It tells the universe you're serious. I'm not waiting for the future. I'm not wanting to make this amount of money. I'm not planning to make this amount of money. When I write these things down, I write it down in present tense. So this would be, I earn X dollars per month. That's how you write it down. Okay. Now you have that written down. I want you to go and gather the information to know your cost to be open number. This is the money your business requires every month to operate. So the first is, what does your household need? Okay. That's what you need for your household. Now, what does your business need every month to operate? Okay. And if you're working from home, it's not likely to be this really high number, but whatever it is, right? You have bills, they have to be paid. So this would be things like if you have software subscriptions, such as My Doma Studio and QuickBooks, or if you have a scheduler for social media like Hootsuite, maybe you have organizational dues for ASID or IDS, your cell phone, bank fees, website hosting, all of it. Okay. So what it doesn't sound like that you have in your cost to be open number, which is at the heart of your question, is a bookkeeper, an accountant, and a lawyer. And maybe, I don't know, but it sounds like you might not have business insurance either. Okay. So for now, write down what you have. Okay. And put in one column all of the absolute non-negotiables because you're already paying them. So that's all those things that we already know you're paying. Then in another column, put all the things that theoretically you could and should be paying through your business. Okay. So you should have a bookkeeper, an accountant, a lawyer, and you could be putting your car payment or your car insurance and your car maintenance and your health insurance through your business. You should and could have a budget for marketing, and you could and should have an emergency fund of at least 3 months of your business operating expenses. Okay. Add all these up, plug in the salary, your absolute number that you must make to keep your house alive, add 16% for Social Security and Medicare, okay, and then add each column. One is your drop dead, do or die. These are the things that must be paid now column. The other is what your business should be and will be covering as you grow to accommodate it. Okay. Right now, some of the expenses in that should column may be covered by your husband's salary. Maybe, in furlough, he's still getting paid. Maybe you don't have car payments. Maybe his job is covering health insurance. Okay. But if the furlough changes, that's what we're talking about, being prepared, right? So we want to know what's the big nut that we could possibly looking at. Now, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to spend some time on your Nancy Ganzekaufer ladder of services, meaning spend some time defining the types of projects that you want to work on. And I want this list to include both the kind you are capable of tracking and executing right now. Okay. You've been in business for 6 years. There's a certain kind of project that you attract and you do and you're capable of doing, and you're not worried about getting another one of these again. Okay. But I also want you to list down the types of projects that you desire to do in the future if they are different from what you're currently doing. All right. And so if you know you take on certain kinds of projects now, yet you aspire to do other kinds, write them all out, regardless of where you actually are presently, okay? The next thing I want you to do is I want you to attach a projected income amount to each of the services you're currently capable of doing. So, for example, if you currently do bathroom renovations, and typically you expect to, I'm going to make up silly numbers because I don't know, you expect to put a $2,000 design fee on a bathroom renovation, and what amount of money do you usually make on product? Maybe on a kitchen renovation, you put an $18,000 design fee, and how much do you make on project? Maybe a master bedroom design and decoration. What's your typical design fee for that, and how much do you make on product? All right. I don't know what your numbers are, but you should have some data from all of your previous projects in the last 6 years. Put this all on paper. The types of jobs you do, the typical earnings for each of these types of projects, okay? And then realistically project how many of each of these types you can get in the next 3 months, and then what can you expect to get in 2021. So if you are, say for the last 3 years, you typically do 1 bathroom renovation a quarter, 1 kitchen renovation a quarter, and 3 design and decoration projects. Well, there's no reason why we should expect that to change. I want you to look back on your data, what you do, and project it in, and also look back and see what each of these types of projects makes money on, or what kind of money they make. Okay, so make sense? All right. Now, compare the money that you need to make in that column against the money you expect to make. Do you cover it easily, right? Or do you cover it by a smidge? Because it sounds like to me you might not know the answer to this, because if you do this exercise, you might say, in the next 6 months, I can easily earn $40K, $50K. So I'm not so afraid of borrowing that $9,000 to front it, right? So this is where I want you to go, all right? And I want you to, you gotta analyze where you are before you can go forward, all right? And then the thing is, do you need to adjust anything? When you really take the time to look at this, are you doing 6 bathroom renovations a year but making the least amount of money on bathroom renovations? So are you making more money on design and decoration of different rooms than you are on the bigger long-term projects? Maybe we switch the mix a little, right? Okay. And the other thing is, I know that the better and bigger money is made when you earn money on products, right? And make good margins on products. But what I want you to think about for just this particular moment is consultancy. Okay. And why? Why am I going to go down this road? Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you, I believe that you do need to invest in your business, but I want you to do it with this plan, not just throwing $9,000 at the wall. All right. And so here's the thing. If you haven't already declared yourself as an entity, an LLC, a sole proprietor, et cetera, and register yourself with the state, this is a must do. This is a do not pass go. Okay. And second, you must have a solid contract. So if you don't have these things now, you will need a lawyer to do these things, and these will cost money. If you have these things, the lawyer just sits there in the wings until you need them. All right. But if you're saying to me, I don't have a lawyer, should I have a lawyer? It's making me feel like you probably haven't taken these steps. So you need to get a lawyer to do these things. And you know that I highly recommend Jamie Lieberman for this, okay? Totally reasonable fees. What I love that she works on a one-off basis. She can do whatever you need. You don't have to be like on a retainer with her or anything like that. She's been on the show, episodes 454 and 547. Check her out. So if you have not done this, declared a legal business entity, registered yourself with the state, and got yourself a actual real grown-up contract. These are non-negotiables, okay? Then the next thing is I'm hoping that you have a separate business bank account. I mean, this is a non-negotiable too. If you do not, you do this stat. No mixing personal and business funds ever, never. All right. And then from here, the bookkeeper question, right? Do you need to pay a bookkeeper? Well, I would say this depends on two things. Your skill level in doing bookkeeping, okay? Because if you're asking me if I can be my own bookkeeper, the answer is no. It doesn't matter if I'm making $1,000 a month or $100,000 a month. I don't have the skill level. You know that. So, but I also have coached many interior designers that do have the skill level to do it. So I would say if your skill level is high and your workload is not so overwhelming that you actually can do and keep on top of your bookkeeping every week, then you probably don't have to have this expense right now. But if your skill level is low, like mine, or if you're already busy and the task of bookkeeping gets pushed from weekly to monthly to whenever, then it's time to get a part-time bookkeeper ASAP. All right. And if you're not sure, go back and listen to Kim Warsick's episode number 234. I think she said to us that she waited either 3 months or 5 months to hire a bookkeeper. And she said, looking back, she would have done it right out the gate. Okay. And the thing is, if you do need to do this, go back and add this to your cost to be open number on your spreadsheet, right? Now, accountant, look, I think that we all should be with an accountant who gets us. And for the design industry, this is an accountant like Peter Lang, the designer CPA. But again, if your projected earnings aren't in the multiple hundreds of thousands, can your personal CPA do it? Yes. And if you don't have a personal CPA because you do your own taxes, then yes, in my opinion, you need a CPA. In my opinion, this is a non-negotiable for a business. All right. You need to be sure that you pay all the right taxes on time, and you want to be sure you get all the right deductions. Okay, so call around, get some quotes on what it will cost you for this, and add it to your cost to be open number. All right, now I'm going through all of this because if I were working with you, I would never say you need XYZ, go get it set up properly, and since you have the inheritance, just spend it and do it. Not with the variable of your husband's situation on top of all the other things. And the thing is, we always need the full picture. What expenses do you have? What opportunities for income do you have? What are the services you need? And what are the ones that you can delay? All right. Where is the best place for you to put your money? And how is the best place for you to earn your money? All right. The bottom line is investments you really must make are work with a lawyer to register your business, open a business account, hire a part-time bookkeeper or commit to knowledgeably doing it yourself religiously, no messing around, find and hire a CPA, even if it's not the kind like Peter Lang who works with you each month and is just someone who will see to it that your quarterly and yearly taxes are filed and paid. Okay. My guess is that the lawyer will be under $2,000. A one-time fee. The bookkeeper might be about $12,000 a year, and the CPA might be about $12,000 a year. Of course, this is just based on experience and things like that, but it could be different in every area, all right? So if you have none of these things in place and no money in your business other than the inheritance for the remainder of 2020, this will eat up about $2,800 of the $9,000. What do I think about that? Do I think you should spend it? Yes, I do. But here's exactly how I think you should do it, and it's how I would do it. I would go back up to my services that we talked about a few minutes ago, and I would commit to earning at minimum that $2,800 I expect to spend, meaning I would front myself the money because I know I need to be an entity. I know I need to be registered. I know I need to have business insurance and, to do all that stuff. But I would pay it back to myself ASAP, and I wouldn't wish I will. I wouldn't wonder if I will. I would make sure I will. Okay. I would have a very serious chat with myself, and I would decide exactly what I have to do in addition to my regular design work to pay for these things over the next 3 months. And this is where I would consider consultancy services. Okay. Because in my mind, if I want to cover a certain amount of money in a set period of time, consultancy services are sort of like going to get a part-time job to pay for these things. But instead of going to get a part-time job at like a grocery store, I'm going to go get a part-time job doing what I already do and doing something that has the potential for bringing me in the work that I actually do and want to do. All right. So this is what I mean by this is I would, if I'm not already, and if I am, I would lean into it. I would lean into designer for a day, paint consults, virtual Zoom decor consults, because I could work at the grocery store for the next 3 months of 2020 and make extra money to pay for those expenses. Or I can take these kinds of jobs on, make extra money, and maybe, just maybe, one of these will actually turn into the full service project or a referral for a full service project. Make sense? So there's no guarantees that any of them will, but working at the grocery store is a guarantee that I won't get the job anyway, right? So let's look at it this way. Say you put yourself out there at $1,500 for a designer for a day, and you're able to, in the next 12 weeks, get just 4 of those. All right, that's $6,000 right there. How about if you put yourself out there at $245 for a first floor paint consult? What if you got 4 of them? That's $980. How about 4 virtual design consultations sitting at your computer in your study on FaceTime or Zoom? It's another $980 if you charge $245. And all of a sudden, here we are, $7,960, right? And guess what? If you can do that, that leaves you that extra money to invest in the branding and the photography, right? So the idea is, yes, invest in your business, but also invest time and in the planning of how you will make money. You've heard me say it on the show many, many times. When I did the business plan for the podcast and I set the VinMan down and I said, I want to do this. I want to have a podcast. I had a list of 26 ways that I could earn money through the podcast. From day one, this was a business first. Yes, it is my passion. I love it. I would do it for free on most days, just like you would probably do design for free on most days. But unless either one of us expects an inheritance of the multiple hundreds of thousands, we have to generate income. So plan how you will do it. Be steadfast in doing it. Being an entrepreneur always involves risk, okay? The scary feelings never really go away. They just don't, okay? Especially when the real world constantly smacks you in the face. Furloughs, pandemics, all of it. But thoughtful, careful planning and the guts to act on those plans, that's the mitigating factor. That's the differentiator between fear of the unknown and adrenaline for the possibility. You see what I mean? Can you feel what I mean? We take risks, we get scared, but deep down, when we know we are making calculated risks, not flippant ones, that's when the adrenaline and the happiness comes. That's why when we do succeed, it is so absolutely incredible because we know that we've made a plan, that we've worked for it. It could have gone wrong, but we stayed the course and we prevailed. And I know you can too. I know you can. You can assess everything, you can map it out, and you can create a business that supports you and your husband, right? So the thing is, I think at the bottom line, I hope you hear what I'm saying, is I do think there is a certain minimum things that must be done. So when you're reading the book and you're like, I didn't do this. If I've mapped out some of the things that you haven't done that I've said to you are non-negotiable things, then I want you to consider using that inheritance to do it. But I want you to ensure it. And I want you to sit down and take the other side of it and figure out how you will pay yourself back within the next 3 months. Because I would love for you to start 2021 with that $9K sitting right there and then some. And I'm not talking about changing whatever current projects you have. I'm talking about adding a part-time job to your full-time business. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's figure out other ways that you can make money doing what you already do, even if you have no desire to be a designer for a day type of a designer for the rest of your career. It's okay to do it right now for X amount of months. Bring in the money, hopefully have them blossom into full service projects, but not worry about it if they don't. Go get the money so that you can pay yourself back and start 2021 and then watch yourself. For me, the next thing I would do too is if my pipeline isn't really robust, I would look at that cost to be open number. And if my cost to be open number, say, was $3,000 a month, I'd be like, it's a non-negotiable. I do 2 designers a day at $1,500 a month just so I know my bills are paid. That's it. And then every other project I take is the gravy. It is the profit. It is the going and the building of the business and the types of clients and projects I want to do. Okay. And there's ways to do it. There's tons of resources in the podcast on marketing, the Fred Burns shows, the Kay Whitaker shows, lots of these shows, Claire Jeffords shows, lots of these shows have ways to go out. Even in the second book, Stacey Brown Randall, How to Leverage Your Referrals. You have 6 years of business behind you. There is a way to go back to that client base of 6 years and dig some money out of it. Okay. All righty. I hope that helps. I really do. I think you're in a good spot. You should be hopeful and you should feel good. Okay. And if this didn't quite answer your question, don't hesitate to come back and email me again. Okay. And I have one more tip for you that I want to share with you before we go. But first, I want to thank Monogram for sponsoring their show and ask you if you have signed up for their designer program yet. When you sign up for the designer program at Monogram, you are on the list for all the extras that Monogram provides as far as product knowledge, insider events, both virtual and in real life. If you have any questions on any of their state-of-the-art luxury appliances, from ranges to ovens to wine fridges to regular fridges, they are there to help you so that you can turn around and make the right recommendations to your clients. Go to monogram.com/LuAnn and get in on the inside today, right? Monogram.com/LuAnn. So one more tip for you, my anonymous listener here. When you are doing your business plan, you can Google it and gather some information with more details than I've given you here today on how to create that business plan, but also maybe see if there is a local SCORE chapter near you. All right. And the truth is, maybe with COVID, they don't even have to be local to you. Okay. So SCORE is a nonprofit organization which is dedicated to helping small business owners get off the ground, helping them set and achieve their goals. And they do it through free educational resources and mentoring from retired business people. I know several designers that I've spoken to have taken advantage of this, and usually because they take advantage of this for 2 reasons. Number 1, they're setting their business up. And number 2, it's before you can afford to pay for one-on-one coaching, right? The experience here is invaluable. And even though your business is 6 years old, in some respect, it's a reset. Right. And so I think by sitting down with an experienced retired business person could be really helpful and valuable to you. And I encourage you to do it. Okay. All righty. So I'm sending you big hugs and looking forward to the next time that I can see you again in real life. All right. And before we go, let's also remember that registration is open for the amazing Process Leads to Profits course taught by Sarah Lynn Brennan. This is the 3rd time she's teaching this course. And as I've told you before, more than 70 designers have now taken it, and everyone has given it rave reviews. So here is a couple of comments that have come back to us through our form that we send out after you complete the course. One designer said this was a power-packed course full of not just great information, but ways to actually implement the ideas in my business. I needed a framework in my business. I had tried and failed several times to implement a system that benefited both me and my client. This course helped me figure out what steps I needed to take to achieve this. Another said, there are so many good takeaways, at least one every class, but my biggest takeaway was being able to feel confident to explain to my client what my process is, how we work together, and what the end result would be. For so many years, I felt like I just piecemealed projects together. Of course, they did turn out well, but I always knew that I could do better and my process could be better. I especially love the upfront pricing that Sarah Lynn described. It makes sense to me as a consumer, so I can see how it will be easy to adopt into my business. One designer said, initially, I hesitated to sign up for the course due to the price tag. However, it was worth every penny invested. I'm confident that the return on this investment will definitely exceed the cost. Many thanks to Sarah and LuAnn. So I have to say to you, if you are done with the treadmill of doing projects, yes, completing them, but done with doing them a different way each time, done with having to re-explain over and over mid-project to your clients what's going on, why it matters, this is for you. Join Sarah this November for 6 weeks as she walks you through how to put your way of doing business and projects into a duplicatable process. So understand that. You're not here to learn Sarah's way. She teaches you how to take what you do and put it in a process, all right? Because when you have a duplicatable process, you absolutely now know to your core that you can deliver great results every time. And that is where the magic happens. When your brain is free, you're like, I've got this. Let's do it again, right? So go to processleadstoprofits.com. All right. One last thing. Okay. It's big day tomorrow. Tomorrow is episode 600. Can you believe it? I remember reading a podcast stat way back in the beginning. I think I was on air maybe a month or two. And it said that by episode 7, the majority of podcasters will start to lose interest and or feel discouraged. All right. And it went on to say that if you reach episode 25 as a podcaster, there's a pretty good chance you'll reach episode 50. Well, here we are all these years later and all these episodes later, still going strong. Tomorrow, in celebration of the 600th episode, Betty Martin and Deb Matthews gather forces and put me through the questions I'm getting interviewed, right? So I didn't really know what to expect, but it certainly turned out to be a lot of fun. And I hope that you will tune in to hear that interview. That's tomorrow if you're listening in real time. All right. Thank you tons for showing up. Thank you for writing to me. Thank you for your reviews on iTunes. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be. All of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.